What's up, guys? So a video that's been on my mind and I thought is the notion of how it's always forced on us, how we always have to wash our hands or go to the extreme and, do a whole carnets, putting the bay leaf in, burning the water, salt water, doing the full knives before doing prayers. But in a way, does that really handicap our prayer life? I say that because, you get in certain circumstances in life and you want to pray to the gods for something, and then that little earworm gets in you and says, hey, if you pray, it's not going to do anything because you didn't wash your hands, and they don't listen to you if you don't have clean hands. Sallustius has said it, and so many other philosophers have said it as well, and that, I think, holds us back. So with that said, you just get in certain situations in life and instances where you have to pray. You may be on a plane, for example. You may be on a plane and it starts getting really bumpy and you're like, oh God, you go, Hermes, please let me get there. It's that, or you'd be like, oh God, we're fucked, kind of thing, because you have nowhere to pray. I can't get to the bathroom to wash my hands, kind of thing. And that kind of holds us back. And there are times in my life, I was the same way. I went to Indianapolis this year. It wasn't like, kind of thing, but it was, you hit turbulence even, and those human instincts hit. And you start thinking, man, please, let's just land, and you pray to Hermes, and you really at that time for sure believe that he hears you. And, maybe you get into a car and you start driving and your car starts making sounds and you're like, Hermes, please let me get through this weekend. Let's get home and not break down in this out-of-state town or out-of-city town where no one can get to me easily. And, you pray. Or more seriously, you go to the hospital and you're standing outside of your relative's ER room and you're stressing out in life and you're like, Esclipios, Apollon, gods, help me find peace, strength, help them have the right doctors. There are times when you can't get, or the last thing you're thinking about is washing your hands, And so I've experienced those moments in my life. And I've also experienced those times where I wanted to do a prayer and that earworm got in saying, hey, it's going to be worthless, no point in it because they're not going to hear you anyway. And I think that really gets down to the need and the circumstance. And when we say, and when they teach it, you have to be clean, that's really for formal rituals, I believe, because when we get into those real situations and the last thing we think of is washing hands or there's not a chance. That's a whole set of circumstances that we don't control. And so I'm here to say that I think you can pray and be heard. I just listened to a podcast and she mentioned the same thing where she was going through airplane turbulence and she prayed to Hermes. It happens, it's life. And those are the most real prayers. Whenever something happens, and it also shows you your faith in what you believe too, because who do you turn to when circumstances are bad? It is the gods you believe in. And that's when you really realize you believe what you believe. So it's a great thing as well. It's a confirmation in those sad times, because you'll sit there and you'll pray, like I said, to Hermes whenever things literally get choppy, or you'd be praying to the gods when your loved ones are sick. And you can think of it this way too. They wrote, you have to wash your hands, be clean, and to pray. That's true. And like I said, more, I think, in a formal way, and you can still do your prayers if you can't get to a restroom, to wash your hands or take a shower, what have you, whatever the need calls for. But here's what I was going to say that you need to think about as well, is that you right now are physically cleaner than the people were back then that couldn't find clean water to save their life, literally sometimes, So you just having washed off this morning are literally cleaner than someone 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago would have been, So you're doing pretty good on being clean already. And you can't tell me that the soldiers of Troy in Greece, you know, like the Iliad and stories like that, that they weren't praying as well. Covered in mud, blood, dirt, and everything else. So, like I said, just don't let the earworms stop you from your prayers. If you feel it in the need to do one, definitely do one.